Hey everyone, I see our first attendees pouring in. Welcome to the webinar. You are in the right place, so just sit tight for a few minutes. We'll let the rest of our attendees join over the next few minutes, and then go ahead and get started. But thank you for joining us today. We are excited to give you guys a good show. Hey, Alex. Yeah, absolutely. This webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be sent out to attendees and to anyone who registered, and will also be available for download, for anyone who didn't register. So plenty of opportunities to get that recording. All right, folks, we just hit the top of the hour, so I'll go ahead and give people about another minute or so to continue to join us, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for your patience, and sit tight for another minute or so. All right, we're up over that 70 attendees mark, so let's go ahead and kick things off here. Welcome everyone to Mastering the New Buyer Journey, the role of rewards in accelerating revenue growth. We're glad you could join us. We're excited to put on a good webinar. It's been a few weeks since I've hosted a webinar, so for those of you who recognize me, good to see you again. And let's go ahead and get started. Just a quick look at the agenda for today. First up, we'll introduce ourselves a little bit for those of you who may not know us, and then we'll dive right into the content here. We'll start with aligning your marketing, sales, and customer service with the new buyer journey. Introduce the model and get you guys, all up to snuff on what we're talking about. And then we'll dive into deploying the tactics across that journey, give you some actionable tips and some things that you can take and use in your marketing. Then we'll dig into rewards. That'll be my area of expertise. We'll talk about how rewards can be used to drive prospect behavior, encourage sales results, and ultimately generate more revenue. We'll give you a couple examples of some rewards-based programs, and then finally dig into the technology piece before we bring it on home with some Q&A. So please type your questions into the Q&A in Zoom throughout the show. We will get to, unless there's hundreds of them, we'll get to all of them at the end of the show. So please let that be a challenge. I'm sure we can make it. And without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce our speakers. So I'm here with Mike Lieberman. Mike is the CEO and Chief Revenue Scientist of Square 2, an agency partner of Rybbon's, and he's also the host of the podcast, What's Wrong with Revenue? As you can see, a very experienced revenue generation professional. Mike, if you wanted to say a few things to introduce yourself, please take it away.
Kevin, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to share the new buyer journey with everybody. Square 2's we've been doing this for almost 20 years, helping companies grow revenue and create these machines that generate revenue month over month, help our clients hit their revenue goals. And we do that with strategy, tactics, analytics, and technology like you guys provide. So I'm excited to be able to share some of our methodology with the people here today. It was interesting as people were checking in, they were saying good afternoon, good evening, good morning. So we obviously have an international group of people here in multi time zones. So that'll be fun talking to all of you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. And I'm Kevin Ford. I am the demand generation marketer here at Rybbon. I guess now a Rybbon subsidiary of Blackhawk Network, but still here focusing on kind of the integrated rewards platform. My little fun fact is I actually was a Rybbon customer before I was a Rybbon employee. So as a marketer, I can definitely speak to sort of both sides of the coin here working with Rybbon. And without further ado, Mike, I'll hand it over to you for our first section.
That'd be great. Thanks, Kevin. I really appreciate it. So a lot of times when companies come to us with challenges related to generating revenue, it's obvious that there's no alignment between marketing, sales, and customer service. And specifically, that alignment doesn't mean that they're not working together. It means that they're not aligned with the buyer journey. So I want to introduce a concept of a new buyer journey that's a little more complex and a little more useful than maybe what you would be traditionally used to thinking about in terms of the buyer journey. And I also want to talk about why the buyer journey is more complex. So Kevin, you can go to the next slide. So you may have noticed, this might look familiar to you, but I've certainly noticed this, and the prospects and the clients that Square 2 works with have certainly noticed this, that everyone's really looking at extended sales cycle. People are taking longer to make their decisions. And that's because the way they make their decisions is different than the way they used to make them. Prospects are asking a lot more questions, and that's a interesting signal for marketers and salespeople too, because those questions do provide opportunities, which we'll talk about in a couple of minutes. There are buying committees. There are more people involved in the decision-making process. There's a Harvard Business Review article that talks about the number is up from 5.4 to like 7.2 people involved in the buying decision. And obviously those are big companies making enterprise level purchase decisions, but that's trickling down as well. What used to be a single person's decision is now 2 or 3 or more people's decision. And a lot more people are doing nothing. So you may be hearing this if you're in sales, if you're in marketing, like, we decided to push this. We decided to make this a fourth quarter initiative. We decided not to do anything right now. We decided to handle it in-house. When people aren't safe, they tend to do nothing, because the safe move is to do nothing and maintain the status quo. It's actually challenging and risky to actually make a change when you're talking about doing something different from a marketing and sales perspective. And when people don't know the difference between the options available to them, they tend to pick the cheapest, which puts downward pressure on price. So if you've seen any of these things in the marketplace and wondered, well, what's going on? I'm hoping to answer some of these questions for you today. So this should look familiar to you. What you have on the left is the old sales funnel where people come in the top and marketing and sales touches them and magically pop out of the bottom as customers. You may also have seen the image on the right. That's HubSpot's flywheel, where they have attempted to explain what today's buyer journey looks like. There's marketing and sales and service, and in the middle are the customers. And that's all fine. You can go to the next slide, Kevin. The original sales funnel was created in 1890. So I don't think it'll be shocking to any of you that the way people buy today are different than the way people bought in the 1900s. And while HubSpot's flywheel is interesting, I don't think it provides the level of granularity that we all need to really create an amazing marketing, sales, and service experience for our customers. So I'm going to give you an alternative. And before I do that, in case you don't want to take my word for it, here's a quote from Ad Age that basically says the traditional sales funnel isn't changing. It's completely dead. It's been brutally turned upside down, inside out, and little is left to identify from it. And that's because a number of companies have really taught and continue to teach us that buying is different than the way we used to buy 10 or 15 years ago, where sales controlled the process. If you wanted to buy something, you needed to get in touch with a company, speak to a sales rep, and sales controlled the flow of information to prospects all the way through the process. Today, we are all our own controllers of our own process. There is so much information out there that we are all managing our own buyer journeys. We don't want to speak to sales, and we don't want to speak to them until we absolutely have to. So the model I'm going to show you now is an indication that is much more reflective of how people buy today. And we call that the cyclonic buyer journey. So in our model, there are 8 different stages, and I'm going to walk you through each of them very briefly. If you're interested in more information on this, you can go to our website, square2marketing.com. There's actually a whole page dedicated to this cyclonic buyer journey where you can get a lot more detail. But let me talk to you about each of these stages. So go ahead, Kev, next slide. So pre-awareness. So there are people right now who are interested in, who could potentially be interested in what you do, but because their pain is not acute, they're not even looking. So they may have the problem that your products or services solve, but because everything appears to them to be okay, they're not even looking. And this is typically where tactics like account-based marketing come into play, where I know I want to do business with a company in this industry, a company of this size, a company that might be doing this thing, and I think I might be able to help them, but they're not looking. So I proactively go out and try to introduce myself to them through some ABM campaign tactics to try to get their attention. And you can also see, this is why I've color coded this stage with marketing and sales, because it requires a little bit of marketing and it requires a little bit of sales to get access to these people who aren't even looking yet. The awareness stage is when people start to realize there's an issue. Their pain might not be acute, but they're open to seeing information that might solve that problem. So if you've heard of reticular activision, that's when you buy a car and you start noticing, oh my God, look at all these people who bought the same car I have. Like, you never noticed that before, but now that you're aware of it, you're seeing them everywhere. And people in the awareness stage have that reticular activision tuned in. So they could be subject to really solid marketing to get their attention. They're not actively looking, but they are aware. That's the big difference between the awareness stage and the education stage. In the education stage, people are actively looking. They're doing searches. They might be talking to friends. They might be popping into message groups and saying, hey, does anyone else have this issue? How have you solved it? They might be doing some research, some searches. They might be looking at websites. They're really trying to get educated on what's going on and how they can potentially fix this problem in their company. Consideration is when they've started to narrow down their options. So to give you a good example, if you have a marketing challenge, you may be thinking, well, I could hire some people or I could hire an agency. And that's when you're in the education stage. You're trying to decide, do I go left or do I go right? When you're in consideration, you've probably pretty much decided, I want to hire in-house or I want to hire an agency. So you've narrowed your choices. You're still thinking about it, but you've narrowed your choices down. When you move to evaluation, and you can see I moved from marketing to sales, going from consideration to evaluation, you're going to need a salesperson to help you. So again, back to using the agency scenario, if you've decided to hire an agency and you start reaching out to a handful, that's where sales typically gets involved. And you're asking some very specific questions that you would need to speak with someone in order to help them with. And then rationalization would be where you're really down to some nitty gritty stuff. You're looking at contracts, you're checking references. You've probably picked an agency that you like, and you're now just checking some boxes to see how that last bit of the process would go. You then make a decision, and now you're working with them, and delivery has to be equally good. In order to make these cyclones spin efficiently, you have to be awesome at all of these. And that's why marketing, sales, and service has gotten so complicated, because you can't be good at marketing and not sales. You can't be good at sales and not marketing. You can't take care of, if you don't take care of your customers, none of this is going to spin properly. You have to be good at all of this. So let's talk very quickly, and then I'm going to transition this over to Kevin. So what does that mean? How do I deploy tactics across this multi-stage buyer journey in order to get people engaged? So good news, I have an answer for that. What I've done here is just taken a handful of tactics. You should be familiar with most of these tactics, and I've spread them across the 8 stages of the buyer journey so you could see a sample deployment. Now, very few people are doing all of these things, although I would tell you the more of these things you do, the better your results are going to be, but very few people are doing all of them. But if you do want to go after people who aren't aware of you yet, you have things like cold email marketing, account-based marketing, pay-per-click, events and trade shows, and maybe some partner marketing that you could execute. If you want to ramp up your activities in the education stage, then having a live event like this would be one example. Working on conversion, making sure the website experience is highly optimized, doing things like podcasting and videos, enabling a chat feature on your website where people can ask questions and get answers quickly, really focusing on the design of your website, like building pillar pages that are very high value educational pages. ramping up your blogging, doing some guest blogging. So you can see there are a lot of things you can do to influence people in the education stage. And if you go through each of these stages, you can see sales gets involved, arming the sales team with content, sales coaching, sales training, advocacy, which is where your customers start helping you tell your story. I know Kevin's going to talk about how to activate your customer base with rewards. You really need to look at these tactics across all of these stages and make sure you have the right configuration of each in order to drive the kind of results you're looking for. So how do we know what tactics to deploy and when? So here's some additional insight into how to make that decision. Go ahead, Kev. So you want it to be based on metrics. And one way to understand your metrics is to look at a revenue cycle, which I'm going to show you an example of a revenue cycle in a second. You also want to be able to prioritize your tactics. And a great way to think about this is to ask yourself, what's going to have the biggest lift for the least amount of effort? And I'm going to give you an example there too. And lastly, what is your team good at? Where are their experiences? And if there are gaps in those experiences, you might want to consider some outside help, like an agency, to fill in those gaps. So let's dig into this quickly. And also, don't forget your relationship with, that's okay. Don't forget your relationship with sales, marketing, customer service. That has to be really well aligned. If you don't have a solid relationship with sales, then trying to get them to do different things might be frustrating. But let's dig into this a little bit. So here's a sample revenue cycle model. By building this for your company, you're really going to understand where the weak spots are. So map your current performance, which is that bar across the top. Here's how many people we're getting to the website. Here's how many new contacts we're getting. Here's how many of those are marketing qualified leads. Here's how many sales qualified leads, the people that reach out to us. Here's how many of those are sales opportunities, how many proposals we're submitting, and how many clients we're getting. So build this model for yourself. Then look at what you want the model to produce. So in this case, we're going from 1 new client a month. We want to go to 10 new clients a month. The model at the bottom will clearly show you what your target is for website visitors, for new contacts, for MQLs, SQLs, sales opportunities, proposals, and how you get to new clients. And you can see there are some upgraded conversion rates there that will indicate what kind of marketing tactics or sales tactics need to be deployed. If you're going to increase your close rate from 25 to 50%, you really need to work on the salespeople on what that final presentation or those recommendation meetings look like. If you want to go from 27 new contacts to 65 new contacts, yes, you need a little bit more traffic, but you need a much better conversion rate, and that's where contact comes in. If you like this model and you want a model like this built for you, I'm happy to help you do that. All you have to do is email me, mike@square2marketing.com, or visit my website at square2marketing.com, and there's a opportunity for us to put something like this together for you. So go ahead. I mean, we covered the revenue cycle. It helps you define your goals. It shows you the delta between where you are today and where you want to be, and it provides a schematic on where you need to focus. The prioritization methodology is important. You can't do everything. So you want to work on projects that have a big impact for the least amount of effort. And I'm going to give you a couple examples here. So if you were to optimize 5 highly visited landing pages, you would get a much better response in a small amount of time than if your goal is to create a new podcast. So you can look at these 5 pages and change a few things on them and drive new leads. And yes, a new podcast might help you too, but you know that's going to be a much bigger lift. What are we going to talk about? How do we produce it? Blah, blah, blah. Focus on the things that are going to drive a lot of impact for a little bit amount of effort. And here's another example. You can probably get a new Facebook ad campaign up in a couple of hours, as opposed to creating a new pillar page to drive SEO for targeted keywords. So again, I can launch a Facebook ad campaign in much less time than creating a new pillar page. So again, a couple of very practical examples to decide what to do. And you want to look for areas where marketing, sales, and customer service can work together. And some of the examples there are, if I'm going to improve the close rate, how do I help sales? If I'm going to look for more primary, collect more primary market insights, how do I go about doing that? If I'm going to shorten the sales cycle, what tools do I need to arm the salespeople with so they can have better conversations with their prospects? And if I'm going to increase revenue from current customers, how do I go about doing that? What kind of email marketing, How do I activate our customers to be more advocates where they're writing reviews and sharing their stories and doing videos of what their experience looked like? All 5 of these areas can drive revenue, but they're not only marketing, they're cross-departmental activities. And now I'm going to turn it over to Kevin to talk about how you can use rewards to drive some similar behaviors and some of the tactics that I just shared with you. So go ahead, Kevin.
Thanks, Mike. Really appreciate it. Love the presentation. You know, I think as a marketer, I am very familiar with a lot of those decisions, particularly on that prioritization point. So what I'm going to kind of try and dig into here from a tactical sort of thought leadership perspective is how rewards can be a tool in your toolkit to optimize, you know, improvements at some of those stages across the buyer journey. So, you know, this first section, we'll chat a bit about how you can use rewards to drive behavior, ultimately encouraging sales results and driving revenue. So to start, I just want to sort of to set a baseline and talk a bit about what rewards can accomplish for you at any stage in the buyer's journey. So one sort of key kind of top level way that rewards can help is they can boost engagement with consumers. I think a great example of that is the $10 reward that we had on offer for qualified attendees to today's webinar. When we started employing rewards to our webinar attendees, we saw a boost in people who showed up to the webinars, you know, simple as that. A second way that rewards can, you know, help your funnel is accelerating purchase timelines. So encouraging, you know, conversations, right? As Mike touched on, the buyer cycle takes a lot longer these days, and you know, it is Q4 now, right? Obviously, it's crunch time for a lot of us organizations to close some deals, and a strategically applied reward can help accelerate that timeline. You can increase customer satisfaction and delight. You know, employing rewards at thoughtful moments in that buyer journey can really take an experience from good to great and from great to truly delightful. Another way is turning your clients into product experts. Things like incentivizing product training will not only make it more enjoyable for your clients to understand the deeper use cases for your product, but it'll also, you know, sink your teeth a little bit more deeply into them and make them, you know, really reliant and true experts in your products. And then another way is by generating meaningful feedback, you know, incentivizing participation in surveys or providing rewards for reviews that you can kind of utilize it in your marketing is a great way to get people to actually take the time to do those activities and provide you both insights into how your product is used and also, you know, get you some nice testimonials for your team. So then the question, you know, we've covered what rewards can do for you, but how do they accomplish that? And I think, you know, the overarching theme of how they accomplish it is they enhance the rest of your marketing efforts. So rewards on their own don't necessarily stand as a full marketing tactic, but they really can amplify everything else that you're doing. So rewards enhance a premium brand image. And what I kind of like to present here as a thought exercise is, you know, if you're comparing 2 different brands as a consumer, one is offering a discount on their product and the other is offering you a reward after the point of purchase. Most consumers will go ahead and opt, you know, all things equal, opt for that brand that's going to reward them because it provides a bit more of a premium brand experience versus a discount brand experience. Second, rewards can be employed to achieve specific business goals. And I touched on this a bit on the last slide, but, you know, to discount your product, there's a long chain between that and getting a customer to send in a review or to provide meaningful insight after a year of business. Utilizing rewards can help you be more targeted in getting what you need out of your customers or out of your prospects. And then finally, you know, rewards can create a valuable experience outside of that moment of purchase. So we all know the feeling of buying a new piece of software or signing a new deal, and it's great and it's exciting in the moment, but, you know, a year or two later, that excitement might have faded. And so rewards sort of offer the ability to continue to prolong the value of any deal. Digging into kind of what difference rewards make, two data points that we have here from an Aberdeen study that was performed earlier this year basically compares the impact of rewards to the impact of discounts. And as you can see in both charts, rewards offer a higher return on investment than discounts do, and perhaps more compellingly, they offer a greater year-over-year revenue increase. So starting a discount program today versus starting a reward program today, a year from now, you'll see a higher level of revenue increase from rewards based on this study from Aberdeen. And the study is available through Blackhawk Network's website, but basically the background is Aberdeen worked with several Fortune 100 companies to kind of analyze their marketing efforts and came to these results with about a plus or minus 3% margin of error. So a real comprehensive study that they ran. Second, kind of more on the consumer side rather than on the business side, is each one of these tiles here sort of represents the percentage of customers who would prefer receiving a reward at that point of purchase when compared to other promotion tactics. So as you can see, I think one thing to call out here, particularly for those of you who are marketing to consumers, is those types of sales that happen low frequency and tend to be a little bit higher, monetary value, tend to be really good candidates for utilizing rewards to incentivize that moment of purchase, right? You're not going to, purchase a set of tires and then get a discount on your next set of tires years from now. But that offer of a gift card, in exchange for a purchase, tends to work really well. And we've seen similar things, across a variety of industries. So next, I'm going to dig into a little bit of how we as more of a B2B marketing group can utilize rewards across that buyer journey, and what tactics sort of make sense to pair with rewards to accelerate your marketing. So, I brought up this slide from earlier in the presentation just to kind of highlight that we have 8 cyclones in the buyer journey, and realistically, rewards can be appropriate at every single one of those stages in the journey. So, calling back to the revenue cycle model, right? Whichever area you want to pinpoint your improvement on, rewards could be a useful tool to pair with another tactic and really accelerate that conversion rate from website traffic to lead conversion, or from marketing qualified lead into proposal. So I'll call up this slide again, and I just want to sort of dig in on some specific tactics and talk about how I've used rewards in the past with those tactics, or how we've heard of our clients using rewards. This would be a great time for people to take some notes and just think about ways that they can employ these tactics in their day-to-day marketing. So starting with account-based marketing, that is obviously a big name item in the world of marketing these days. There's a lot of enterprises out there that are pretty receptive to a successfully run account-based marketing program. And the flip side of that is that a lot of employees at enterprises are the recipient of account-based marketing efforts. So rewards can be a great tool to sort of cut through the noise and make sure that your marketing gets the attention it deserves. So whether that's offering to buy lunch for someone, in order for them to have a conversation with you, or even to slide them a coffee gift card at a certain point in the initial outreach phase, a reward can be that straw that breaks the camel's back, or the grain of rice that tips the scale, so to speak, to get someone to actually pay attention to your ABM efforts. As far as conversion offers go, I think where we are right now is a great example. Obviously a webinar is a great conversion item. It's a chance to get some, I guess, a parasocial interaction, you guys looking at me, but a way to get people to pay attention to those offers. We found, and we put our money where our mouth is, right? That rewards are a great way to get people to pay attention to those offers. And that, depending on the style of offer that you have up, can run across 3 phases of that buyer journey, right? So really is a great opportunity to pinpoint, if you're running a bottom of the funnel product focused webinar, and you have a whole bunch of accounts that are, they're opening your emails, but maybe not replying to sales folks, incentivizing their attendance at that bottom of the funnel webinar can be a great way to sort of push them over the edge into readiness to have a sales conversation. I just came back from a trade show. I was at Quirks Chicago, which obviously there are more marketers here than market researchers, but that was a market research trade show. And in our booth, we offered a digital reward in exchange for folks coming by and chatting with us for a bit. And it enabled us to not only showcase, our technology that we sell, but also it's pretty enticing. I don't know how many of you have been to trade shows in the past, but you can only have so many foldable coffee mugs or mediocre wireless chargers or rubber piggy banks. At the end of the day, cash is king. And so offering incentives and rewards as part of your, trade show or event strategy tends to speak a little bit louder than some of the goofier swag that's out there. Live events, so more company specific. I think a great example of how this could be employed is HubSpot Inbound is one of the most impressive, company specific live events out there. And in a lot of cases, right, companies that run those type of events have big accounts that they want to bring into the event and wow, and really impress them. And, sometimes beyond offering free admission, a strategically applied reward, perhaps HubSpot Inbound is in Boston. I have not spent much time in Boston, but there's a great restaurant in town, and offering your big prospective client a dinner at that restaurant, or a gift card to a Boston Red Sox store, something like that can be the tool that brings folks in. Content for your sales team. So this is a great one, and I actually I had this tactic employed on me when I first got started at Rybbon, and it was a $5 reward that was offered to me. Right after I got started, I had sales development reps from all kinds of technology providers reaching out to me. Hey, Kevin, I see that you're the new demand gen marketer at Rybbon. Would you consider this tool? How's your pipeline looking? Check out this tool. And I hadn't even completed my onboarding yet, right? So my go-to response was, hey, I'll talk to you later. Get back to me in 3 months. I don't have time for this right now. And one company in particular, their SDR, she replied to my email with, very understanding, totally gets it. And she gave me a $5 coffee gift card, right? That's chump change, but that was the one SDR whose efforts I remember from that period of time. So equipping your sales team with both the, creative tactics like that, knowing to jump in at a moment where someone's not ready to make a purchase or not ready to consider a purchase, but just to kind of improve your brand image in their eyes is a really effective tactic. It's worked on me, and it's definitely something that I'm looking to employ for our sales development team. Lead nurturing, I think, goes kind of hand in hand with that previous tactic, right? There are various stages, like I said, right, with the conversion offers where you can strategically apply a reward to push someone to the next stage of their buyer journey, whether that's incentivizing, participation in a bottom of the funnel webinar, providing them, a incentive to come to a lunch and learn, sales conversation, anything along those lines tends to be really effective. I've touched on the next point a few times already during my presentation, but customer advocacy is a great way to utilize rewards. I'm not sure how many of you folks have had conversations with the great people over at G2, but rewards are a huge part of their strategy for review generation. They'll go ahead and run campaigns on their clients' behalf and incentivize the participants in that campaign to provide rewards, good, or to provide reviews, good or bad. And at the end of the day, you're asking something of your clients when you're coming to them for reviews. So incentivizing that behavior is a really effective way to get that valuable information. Similar kind of strategy, a referral program. I think this calls back right to the tire sales example. If a tire company wants a customer referral, it's kind of hard to convince that client, hey, I'll give you a discount on your next set of tires, but to incentivize them with a gift card or something along those lines tends to work pretty well. We're big believers in customer referral, and so just kind of like relying on the digital reward tool for that. And then finally, customer service communication. This, I think, sits obviously more at that ongoing delivery and service stage of the buyer's journey. But let's say that your app goes down and it's a critical time for a client of yours and for the application to go down. That could really create a negative experience, and rewards in that customer service conversation can be an extremely powerful tool to flip the script. This is not quite on the same scale, but I remember when I first applied my screen cover to protect my phone, I got a piece of dust under there. I emailed the customer service rep and they sent me a new screen protector, right? It was totally my fault that I got dust under the screen, but it's going that additional mile to provide a good experience. And now I'm a loyal customer. Spigen, by the way, is the company that produced that screen protector. So go ahead and buy them. They have great customer service. So as you can see, looking at the red circles, they really do touch on every single vertical in that buyer's journey. there's a lot of tactics that you can use to pair with rewards and ultimately, push people through those points in the journey that you want to optimize the most. So just to kind of zoom it back out and kind of cover a few more examples of where you can employ rewards. Surprising your valued customers with a thoughtful gift. Obviously, it's Q4, holiday gifting season is coming up. We all love getting holiday gifts from our vendors. I think a digital reward is a great way to go ahead and do that. And it's a campaign that can be employed instantly as compared to a gift box, or especially now that everyone is largely distributed, working from home, as you can see, not an office behind me. Digital rewards could be a great tool to sort of continue that holiday gifting spirit, or to say thanks to a client after a year of being a customer. Showing gratitude to brand advocates, this ties into that review piece, or into customers who speak highly of you to refer colleagues of theirs. As I mentioned, holiday gifting is coming up. Say thanks to new clients from the past year by offering them a holiday gift, or keeping yourself top of mind with a prospect who isn't quite ready to buy. As I mentioned, that SDR who reached out to me with a coffee gift continues to be top of mind for me nearly 6 months later. And then finally, facilitating charitable donations on the behalf of your clients or prospects is a really powerful tool. Everyone loves to be charitable and to feel charitable. And so to strategically employ, donations on folks' behalf can really travel pretty far. And so real quickly, I just want to breeze through, how technology and digital rewards can make those efforts even more effective. So you'll see it on our website. We love the word delight, right? And digital rewards are truly delightful for a variety of reasons. They're highly flexible, right? They can be employed in this distributed age of working from home. They can be sent instantly. They're eco-friendly. You're not ending up with plastic cards that rot in landfills. Or I have my old wallet somewhere around here. I guarantee you there's like 6 Visa cards that I got, years and years ago. And they're free of any shipping, handling, production, or inventory concerns. They can't get lost in the mail. You send a bar of chocolate that might end up melted or crushed when it arrives to your client. Again, kind of just data that we've seen, about 65% of consumers who we've spoken to are interested in adding their rewards to their mobile wallet. Particularly, I think we're going to see continue to increase. Like I said, I still have Visa gift cards sitting in my wallet from years and years ago, but when I'm at Whole Foods, right, and they accept Apple Pay, it's really easy for me to pull up a digital reward or a digital gift card that I have to go ahead and pay for that purchase. And then 81% of consumers say that a digital reward would make them more likely to purchase from a company multiple times. So that sort of just gets into the very meat and potatoes of why digital rewards are a great tool to use in your marketing. And then why Rybbon in particular is a great tool to go ahead and employ those rewards is because it really can align to your workflows that you're already using, right? So if there's one theme that I want to sort of carry through my presentation today, it's that rewards pair well with what you want to improve about your marketing. So let's say that you use, you can see HubSpot's logo right in the middle there and Marketo right above it, right? If you're using one of those big technology providers, Rybbon rewards integrate directly into that technology. So if you're running a workflow where, let's say a user reaches a certain lead score within your marketing program, you can instantly and automatically deliver a reward to them to kick them further along in the buyer journey. You can automatically reward folks who complete surveys, and basically you're saving your team hours of time in the application of rewards by integrating it with technology that you already use. Finally, a seamless reward delivery experience is pretty impressive to your clients and prospects. For example, I mentioned a trade show that I was at last week. We had a SurveyMonkey survey running at our booth. Basically, the show was in Chicago, so the survey was asking whether or not folks put ketchup on their hot dogs. Those of you who don't know, that is a cardinal sin here in Chicago. So don't come to town and ask for ketchup on your hot dog. And instantly, upon completion of the survey, these folks were receiving a reward and an example of the recipient experience of our product. So that really can be that extra inch that makes the experience so impressive. And then finally, delivering rewards anywhere in the world instantly is a really powerful tool as the world continues to grow more interconnected. It means a lot to folks to be able to send rewards across borders. That comes into play a lot for surveys, or for those of you who are running, multinational customer operations. It can be hard to send an Amazon gift card outside of the United States if you live in the United States, and Rybbon is a tool that makes that really easy. So I don't want to spend too much time on this slide, seeing as we're already over that 30-minute mark, but a few top features that I think, would be great is, I already touched on it, but automation and integration on the bottom left there. We integrate with the tools that you're already using. Campaign management, Rybbon's an entire platform for reward management. So not only can you send the rewards through our platform, but you can track engagement with those campaigns, understand who is receiving rewards, what rewards they're choosing when you offer them a selection. We send rewards directly from your email domain, so ensuring that they'll make it all the way to the customer. We offer 100% refunds on unclaimed rewards. So if you distribute 100 rewards and only 70 of them are claimed, you'll go ahead and get 30 of those rewards back into your account. We have a great selection. We pair with a whole bunch of vendors to make sure that you can offer what makes sense for your clients. And then finally, we have an excellent customer service team, and we are compliant with all the top level security, from HIPAA to IRB to SOC 2 to GDPR, CCPA, you name it, we can handle the security of it. So it's a great tool. That brings my presentation to an end. Thank you all for sticking around. I see we still have a whole bunch of attendees in the room. So that wraps things up from our presentation. But as you can see, please feel free to toss a few questions into the chat or into Q&A, and Mike and I will stick around for a little while and answer anything that comes through.
I got a question for you. If you won't put ketchup on your hot dog, then you've obviously never experienced the Bloody Mary dog.
I have not.
Ketchup and relish, and it is delicious. So you're missing out. You give that a try.
I believe it. I'm from Connecticut originally, a little town called Ridgefield, and my favorite restaurant in town is the Hot Dog Guy. So he's a gourmet hot dog man. I'm definitely a fan of ketchup in my hot dogs. Hopefully none of you folks from Chicago on the call here are gonna go snitch on me. Well, like I said, we'll stick around for a few minutes, but just in case no one has questions, I see folks kind of dropping off the call now. Just wanted to say thanks. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. And hopefully we gave you guys a few tactics that you can walk away with and start to use in your marketing.
If you want to get in touch with me, I'll talk to anybody anytime about this kind of stuff. You can email directly, mike@square2marketing.com. You can also follow me on Twitter @Mike2Marketing. And if you do want the presentation and you email me, I'm happy to send it out to you. Again, mike@square2marketing.com. I really appreciate everybody attending. A really good workshop. And Kevin, nice job with the tactics. Way to apply how rewards fit in with each of the tactics across the buyer journey. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And we'll be sending out the recording via email. Be on the lookout for those rewards in your email as well. And hey, marketers, let's go have a good Q4. How about that? Let's close out 2021 strong and continue that momentum into the new year.
Nice. Thanks, Kevin.
All right. Thanks all. Take care.